Existential philosophy, its historical meaning. We have mentioned existentialism before, but we're going to really get into it in depth today. This is a very long chapter, and I do want to kind of give a caveat or warning that as you read this, there are all kinds of big names in the history of Western philosophy, theology, social science. And don't try to keep them all straight. Certainly don't try to memorize these names. Go for the main ideas, the big ideas. Tillich himself was very much influenced by existentialism. He's often considered to be an existentialist theologian, and he does accept many of the basic ideas of existentialism. But first of all, when we talk about existentialism, we need to talk about this philosophy's way to distinguish between, to oppose existence and essence. And it's different. It's different from the way we've talked about before. It's different from the way Tillich's talked about it before. Remember, essence is the created ideal, what God wants everything to be. And existence is our falling short of that, our estrangement, our sinfulness. Well, for now, just forget about that, because we're going to talk about existence versus essence in a different way, from a different angle. Now we're concerned about reality. How do we understand, or how do we experience reality? Essence, more generally, it can be understood as the nature of something. What makes something what it is? What's essential for a duck to be a duck, or a human to be a human, that kind of thing. And there has been a lot of focus in Western theology and philosophy on essence. And what existentialism says is that Western philosophy and theology has focused too much on essence, defined as reality understood as object of reason or thought. So what is real or most real is reason or ideas. We could talk about idealism, not in the sense of the making something better than it is, but that ideas or ideals are most real. Or rationalism. What is real is what is reasonable, what is according to reason. So reality for essentialism is reality as object of reason or thought. And according to the existentialists, that means these thinkers are saying that reality is very abstract. What is real is what is abstract, what is general. What are the existentialists saying? Well, no. We must focus on existence rather than essence, existence. Here, reality is understood as immediate experience, reality as we immediately experience it. Now, you could raise the question, well, if it's all about immediate experience, why do we need existentialist philosophers? Why do we need people who think about immediate experience, who reflect upon immediate experience? Well, the existentialists are saying there's been a big problem in Western history and Western culture because we focused on the essence. We focused on thinking, on reason, on the abstract, and we've lost sight of concrete life, of reality as immediately experienced. So yes, we're going to reflect, we're going to stand back and think, but we're going to try to stay tethered, to stay in touch with immediate experience as we rethink philosophy, as we rethink theology or religion. So, as Tillich puts it, existentialism develops the implications of looking at reality as immediate experience. Okay, we'll go back and forth between these two a little bit, cover a few more categories here. Essence is timeless. Ideas are always the same through time, at least according to the essentialist perspective. On the other hand, our lived experience, our immediate existence or experience, is temporal. It's shot through with time. Later on in the chapter, Tillich does make a distinction between two types of time. Chronos would be the Greek form of this. Time as measured by a clock, a watch. A second is the same always, a minute is the same, an hour is the same. But when it comes to our experience of time, qualitative time, or in Greek, kairos, no. Not all time is the same, even if it's quantitatively the same. Einstein once said something about, to try to get a little bit at the theory of relativity, and we'll talk about Einstein later in the course. If you're a young man with a beautiful woman, time passes very quickly. If you're just kind of waiting for a train, say, time passes very slowly, even though the amount of time spent in each endeavor might be exactly the same on the clock. So quantitative time, to the extent that essence has to do with time, is what it's about. On the existentialist side, the side of immediate experience, it's qualitative time. Now, to carry on the timeless thought a little bit more, that we have an unlimited quantity of time, we could talk about the aesthetic attitude. This term comes from Kierkegaard, often considered the first existentialist. He wrote in the middle of the 1800s from Denmark. And he criticized very much the bourgeois church, which he felt was just about prestige and proper social standing, and really wasn't really concerned about the gospel or about Jesus Christ and his call to take up one's cross. And he talked about many folks in his society had an aesthetic attitude. What did he mean? Well, aesthetics has to do with beauty, but in the context here, Kierkegaard is saying that when one has this essentialist kind of attitude, this aesthetic attitude, one is just kind of looking at everything and evaluating it. Here's something, here's this painting, here's what's good, and I'll compare it to this painting, here's what's good, or I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat. Vanilla ice cream has this advantage, chocolate ice cream has this advantage. You're kind of just looking at all the possibilities and evaluating everything and just thinking about things. We could also call this the cognitive attitude, just having knowledge about something. I know all the possibilities, all these different artistic creations, and I'm thinking of writing a piece of music, and I have all these possibilities. But if I'm over here in this timeless realm, this abstract realm, I'll probably never get down to actually doing that, trying to write that song. I might never get down to eating my ice cream cone if I take this kind of attitude all the way. What about existence? Totally different. We have to make a decision. Every day, every moment, we have to make a decision. We can sometimes reflect and think about what I'm going to do, what I'm going to eat, but finally, a decision is demanded. Thus the hyphen there, the exclamation point. Real life involves our passion, our interest. We're passionate, we're interested, at least if we're not depressed, if life's going the way it ought to. The decision is demanded, and we have reasons, feelings that demand a decision, and we want to make a decision a certain way rather than another way because it's important. We don't have forever. Finally, when it comes to just contrasting existence with essence, the tendency of the essence side is to say we have a set human nature. We have a human essence. And every human being has this exact same human nature, this exact same human essence. On the other side, while not all existentialists would deny that there's something human beings have in common or that's similar among human beings, still, compared to this, rather than a set human nature, existentialism emphasizes human freedom. We can decide what our nature is going to be. We can decide in our freedom what or who we are going to be. Let's end this segment and I'll erase the board and we'll start up again in a couple minutes.